I'm Adam with Current Tools. I want to talk with you about what to do if you find yourself at the end of a bend and your cylinder is stuck in the down position. I have it replicated here, and notice how the cylinder is down, but no matter closed or released, the cylinder will not retract. The number one reason that we see this occur is due to an incomplete coupling in one of the connectors, be it this connector here at the pump or one of the two up at the top of the cylinder. Now, a real easy way to diagnose which coupler it is as to which one's not fully tightened is to look at the hose. If you're at the end of a bend and this hose is tight, that means that the oil has not been released from this hose, so therefore this coupler must be loose. If it's loose, if the coupler can flop around, that means that one of the two couplings at the top are not tightened all the way. In our situation here, we find ourselves where the hose is tight. So that means we need to focus on this coupler here. Now, one thing to make note is that these fittings can be tightened by hand when you're doing the initial setup. But when you find yourself at the end of the bend like we do here, there's so much pressure on this coupling that you will need tools in order to make that connection. So now that we've identified via the hose that is the pump coupling that's the problem, let's take a closer look, and we notice that there's a gap between the sleeve and the coupler. So the reason why that gap's an issue is if you look on the inside of the coupler, you'll notice that there's a button that pushes on a ball on the inside of the female coupler. And when this coupler is fully tightened, it opens both the male and female couplers to allow oil to flow freely. If there's a gap in the sleeve and it's not fully engaged, that ball and that button are only partially open. The pressure behind the pump is enough to overcome this gap and force the oil into the cylinder, but the cylinder, being a single acting cylinder, cannot generate enough force to reverse the oil flow. Normally, you'd be able to fix this by screwing this coupling together until it's fully seated. But now that we have bending pressure on there, there's too much resistance that you cannot do this by hand. Therefore, you would need a set of tools. First off, make sure that the valve is in the fully open position so that once we release it, the fluid can travel back to the pump. Then we recommend a set of slip joint pliers in order to get a really good grip on that knurling. And normally it doesn't take more than about a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch turn in order to get that fully seated. So now as I tighten this connection, fully seating that shoulder against the quick connect, notice how the cylinder is now retracting. Fluid can now move back into the pump.